Hello, I'm Allie McGraw, here at the costume department at Warner Brothers. Each of the movies in the Hollywood Fashion Festival is terrific in its own right, but our next presentation is very special indeed. American Movie Classics' original production, The Hollywood Fashion Machine. The Hollywood Fashion Machine takes us behind the scenes with great designers like Travis Banton, Adrian, Edith Head, and many others. It also explores the enormous impact Hollywood has had on fashion around the world. When Clark Gable didn't wear an undershirt and it happened one night, men across America suddenly stopped wearing undershirts too. Diane Keaton created a grab bag wardrobe for Annie Hall, and soon women everywhere were wearing baggy slacks, slouch hats, and neckties. I believe you'll be delighted by the Hollywood Fashion Machine. You may be surprised too when you remember how many times a movie has influenced what you wore and how you wanted to see yourself. And now I'm pleased to introduce to you the Hollywood Fashion Machine.
Stepping out with my baby, can't go wrong.
For an American designer, Hollywood is probably the most important source of inspiration.
Movies are an enormous influence on fashion, but it's not the movies of today. It's the movies of the 30s and the 40s and the 50s.
Humphrey Bogart gave us the trench coat. Not in red, not in blue, not in silver, but a real man's trench coat.
Don't get me started on Fred Astaire, please.
Elizabeth Taylor's dress from A Place in the Sun is the dress I wore to the prom.
He is so incredibly stylish.
Jennifer Beals' Thing and Flashdance was a fashion revolution.
We see something beautiful on the screen, we're going to want to emulate it. We're going to want it to be part of our lives.
How do I look?
Hello, I'm Jacqueline Bisset. For as long as stars have wandered across screens of movie houses throughout America, Hollywood has been the greatest medium in the world for showing clothes. There's a long, rich, and extraordinary tradition of the movie's influence on what we wear. The saga of fashion and film stars Joan Crawford, Audrey Hepburn, Marlon Brando, Faye Dunaway, and audiences the world over who see the clothes in the movies and choose to put them on. The story begins during the incomparable studio era of the 30s and 40s. Until then, Paris had been the main inspiration for American fashion, but now Hollywood and the movies were fast providing a competing source of new design ideas. It was the golden era of Hollywood costuming. The resources were unlimited. The clothes belonged in museums, but mostly credit is due to the designers. Walter Plunkett, who designed Gone with the Wind, Ori Kelly, who dressed Betty Davis, and Adria, who many consider the greatest designer, who gave Garbo her allure, Crawford her shoulder pads, and Jean Harlow her famous bias-cut dresses.
I think it was an ideal period, and I think in any profession, particularly in fashion, you have to start with an ideal and you let it filter down.
The big studios were really something. They made better clothes than any of the French couturiers ever made.
What people wanted was not anything that they would find in their closet or even in the windows of a department store. What they wanted to find was something that gave them a sense that they were transported to another world, to a whole other experience.
Now, let's see if I can find Lady Buck. There she is. The one in the black dress.
The top designers during this era of glamour were key in creating trademarks for the most famous screen stars. Travis Banton's creations for Marlene Dietrich were pivotal to her indelible image.
Dietrich was a very strong lady about how she looked. I mean, that was probably more important to her than anything else in a film. The two of them just got along great together in those early films. And they created all that fantasy. She had clothes that would just, you know, you just swallow. You look at them and you say, I don't believe that. Look at the way she looks.
Everybody seems to be here tonight. Everybody seems to be looking at us. At you, rather.
Glamour is that indefinable force of the unattainable. I mean, what makes you identify with Dietrich as the ultimate person of glamour is that she steps out of a train. She's with Travis Banton's cook feather hat framing her entire face. Well, you know as well as I do, that's a totally impractical thing to wear. But what a still it makes.
Another legendary designer-star collaboration was between designer Jean-Louis and World War II's favorite pin-up, Rita Hayworth.
Gilda, are you decent?
Me?
Jean-Louis was the head designer at Columbia Pictures during the 40s. He really understood how to make a woman look glamorous and also ladylike at the same time.
Sure, I'm decent.
He started out in Paris working as a designer, so he had sort of a very couture attitude about it, but he also had a great theatricality with restraint. What he did for Rita Hayworth, saying Gilda, was phenomenal. It made her into a mega star.
When they had the earthquake.
He had to find a dress that would look one way with the arms down and another way with the arms up. And that's the brilliance of that particular dress. They put the blame on Mame dress. Because when the arms are down, it's most acceptable, black cocktail dress. But when she puts her hands up, this area, the bustier area, pushes out. So there's more cleavage. And when she starts to do her thing, you see bosom, and she bends and takes off the gloves. And suddenly, you know, playing with that glove, she was the stripper, and she was sensational.
They once had a shoot.
He did the strapless dress, and she had to dance and sing. And so he had to have a top that would stay up. And everyone thought that he glued it to her, but he didn't. He boned it to her with heat and boning. And he had the bones made into the shape of her bust line. And there were many fittings on that dress with rehearsals to make sure that it went just so.
Put the blame on me, boy. Put the blame on me.
But also the asymmetrical drape that comes up across her stomach and around her midriff is to cover up the fact that she is a little on the plump side because she has just had a baby. Here we have the camouflage that Hollywood did so magnificently. When she sang, "Put the blame on Mame," everybody just died.
You got to accentuate the positive, minus the negative, latch on.
Camouflage was the studio designer's secret weapon. While Hayworth and the other glamorous stars of that era may have been screen goddesses to millions of fans, they had human figure folds, just like all of us. An essential part of the wardrober's job was to highlight the flattering parts and cover up the rest.
Different people have different figures. Any great designer is going to learn what it is what this person can and cannot wear, what they look best in.
Maybe they have a lousy figure and their face is beautiful. Then it all happens up here and the rest just kind of gets lost in the folds.
Garbo had a fat neck, so her hair had to be sort of, you know, most of the time. Adrienne knew how to deal with her fat neck.
But those stars were so lucky. I mean, they had the best hairdressers, the best makeup artists, the best designers, and the best fitters.
Much of Hollywood design, the really good Hollywood design, came as a solution to problems that women had, the actual stars. One of the great examples was Barbara Stanwyck. Barbara Stanwyck had a real figure fault. She had one of the longest torsos, but she had a very low butt. And therefore, it looked strange. I mean, it was difficult to shoot her leaving because it was as though something had dropped. It was Edith Head who came up with the concept of a self-belt. In other words, a belt that was part of the fabric and the dress itself. And that solution first appeared in the movie Lady Eve.
Did you hurt yourself?
I'm fine. I just...
You haven't been hitting the bottle lately, have you?
Of course he hasn't. Anybody's apt to trip.
Not over a sofa.
She helped her figure greatly by that insert of material, making a high midriff. Edith made her look taller and more slender and more shapely, and all the manufacturers copied those dresses. They were all called the Lady Eve dress, and it helped Barbara Stanwyck get a new kind of star status. She could make it into more fashionable movies than she was in before.
Thank you.